In 1913, John Beals Chandler formed the J.B. Chandler Company, operating as a manufacturer's agency, marketing cocoa, boot polish, Christmas cards, fire extinguishers, some lines of furniture, hardware and paint. At this time, the business operated from a small corner of an office in Elizabeth Street. During World War I, no progress was made in the business, but after the war, immediate changes took place. In 1918, Chandlers became the Queensland distributors for the Gloria domestic lighting system. At that time, the supply of electricity was restricted to the inner Brisbane areas and some provincial towns. With the expanding electricity supply areas, Chandlers became interested in electrical contracting and the selling of electrical contractors' lines. The company pioneered the marketing of refrigerators with the Snowman, an exclusive brand. The famous Briggs & Stratton and Wind Charger lighting plants were also distributed in Queensland by Chandlers. The company's first electrical retail store was opened in Adelaide Street in 1923, the present site of our Adelaide Street branch. However, by this time, the influence of wireless was being felt. Chandlers imported parts and manufactured wireless sets branded Gloriola. The manufacture of sets ceased in 1928 when Chandlers became the AWA Radiola distributors for Queensland. In the first full year of distribution, 800 sets were sold. In that period, only 2 wireless transmitters operated. One was in Brisbane, station 4QG, and the other small transmitter was in Toowoomba. In 1930, activities were extended into broadcasting and stations were established in Rockhampton, Maryborough, Toowoomba and Kingaroy, with interest also in stations at Ayr, Atherton and Gympie. In Brisbane, Chandlers founded 4BC, Beals Chandler, and later acquired 4BH. The J.B. Chandler Investment Company was formed in 1932 to assist the financing of sales by branches and dealers. By 1934, retail and wholesale branches were operating in Townsville, Toowoomba, Rockhampton and of course Brisbane. Chandlers became the Australian distributor of Sunbeam Mixmasters in 1935. The continuing development and expansion of the business required larger premises, and a building at the corner of Albert and Charlotte Streets was purchased in 1936, the present site of the Munich Steakhouse. In this period, branches were opened in Cairns, Bundaberg and Warwick. The company registered as Chandlers Pty Ltd was formed in 1936. It acquired and carried on the business of the J.B. Chandler Company. From the time World War II was declared in 1939 through to the cessation of hostilities in 1945, company progress virtually stopped. But immediately after the war came an unprecedented merchandising boom. At that time, all appliances obtainable were immediately sold, and as distributors of Hallstrom and Snow Queen refrigerators, we experienced a sales bonanza. In 1950, Chandlers Pty Ltd, other merchandising and broadcasting operations were formed into a public company, Chandlers Australia Limited. Increasing business at that time made it necessary to purchase a warehouse at 399 Montague Road, West End. The updating of our accounting system took place in the early 1950s with the introduction of a punch card tabulator. We pioneered the marketing of waste disposal units and dishwashers, and in 1953, as Hoover distributors, won the nationally contested Hoover Cup, repeating this success in 1955 and 1956. As wholesalers and distributors, the Chandlers Company was involved in annual conferences, such as the release of Snow Queen refrigerators in 1955 and 1956, and in 1958 celebrated 30 years association with AWA. Famed TV Queensland Pty Ltd, Chandler's own service company, was formed in 1959, coinciding with the launch of black and white TV. Chandlers played a very important and significant role in staff and dealer education in the release of this new and exciting home entertainment concept. The first meeting and dinner of the company's 25-year club took place on the 29th of April 1960. Continuing progress saw the installation of our first full computer in 1964. Following the liquidation of the H.G. Palmer chain of stores in 1968, Chandlers purchased 8 of these stores, which were located at Gladstone, Billawheeler, Ipswich, Redcliffe, Sandgate, Casino, Inverell and Goondiwindi. Because of the failing health of Chairman Frank Chandler, the ownership of the company passed to Development Holdings Limited, and at that time, Kevin Reedman, Frank McElveen and Merlin Hanson of Development Holdings were appointed to the board. In September 1972, Mr. R.H. Wainwright was appointed Managing Director. The decision was made following the floods of 1974 to discontinue the wholesale operation and direct all efforts to retailing. At that time, the annual turnover was $21 million with 37 retail stores. Increasing demands on the capacity of the computer required the installation of a new ICL 2904 in 1975. This increased the accounting and sales recording and at the same time made it possible to position computer terminals in the warehouse at West End. Mr. Wainwright resigned the position of Managing Director on July the 8th, 1976, at which time Mr. Kevin Reedman was appointed General Manager. The complete head office operation was transferred from Albert Street to 118 Edward Street in 1977. We leased the first floor, part of the second floor, basement and ground floor. Administration and merchandising was located on the first floor, sales training and staff recreation on the second, storage in the basement with a retail store at ground level. West End bulk holding and stock movement was computerised in 1978, allowing immediate access to warehouse stock information. By June 1979, Chandlers was operating 49 retail stores with a company turnover of $53 million. In the latter part of 1979, new stores at Mount Ommaney, Chermside and Tamworth were opened. The Gladstone branch was relocated in March 1980 and a new store at Toombul opened in June. Because of the increase in sales and the need to carry more bulk stock, a second warehouse in Vulture Street was leased. In the year ending 1980, turnover reached $60 million. 5 new branches were opened in the following year. They were located at Coffs Harbour, Earlville in Cairns, Capalaba, Springwood and Noosa Heads. Turnover in the 1980-81 year reached another milestone at $80 million. Following the retirement of Frank McElveen, Jim Coop was appointed to the board as Merchandising Director in 1981. Major changes took place in Townsville during this year. In March 1982, the Hermit Park branch and Music Land were closed and a new store and bulk warehouse opened in Ross River Road. There was also a new branch in Beenleigh. Still another positive sales result in 1981-82 with turnover up to $101 million. In a continuing drive to improve branch sales performance, no less than 8 stores were repositioned in 1982-83. They were Wynnum, Broadbeach, Woodridge, Casino, Goondiwindi, Earlville, Clifford Gardens and Beenleigh. In all cases, sales improved, contributing to a turnover this year of $113 million. After many years as company secretary, Ray Fisher was appointed to the board as finance director this year. Kevin Reedman became managing director in July 1983. Strathpine was relocated in March 1983 and the new store at Carindale opened in March 1984. Opening of the Chandlers Centre in McGregor was a triumphant finale to many months of planning and preparation. This massive undertaking, from the contract signing date through to the official opening in March, was the biggest move ever undertaken by the company. The success of this move and other activities throughout the year can be judged by the huge $27 million increase in turnover. Sales reached $134,308,000, an increase of 18%. 4 more stores were relocated the following year: Edward Street, Aspley from Chermside, Inala and Ingham. As well as this, new stores opened at Southport Park, Port Macquarie, Canelands, Mackay and Warwick. A completely new concept in hi-fi sound presentation came about with the opening of the Adelaide St Sound Expo. With the help of selected suppliers, this has become a most effective way of displaying and merchandising upmarket sound systems. Again, a substantial lift in turnover to $152 million. No major expansion took place in the 1985-86 year, but a number of existing stores were refurbished. Sales continued to increase during this year, topping the $161 million mark. The year commencing July 1986 was to see renewed activity in the relocation and opening of stores. New stores opened included Eleonora, Sunnybank, Kawana Waters and Chermside. Ballina, Stafford and Aspley were relocated. Despite difficult trading conditions brought about by the devaluation of the Australian dollar and Australia's acute balance of payment problems, Chandlers maintained a continuing strong sales performance. By June 1987, Chandler's chain of specialist electrical stores has grown to 64, and with further development planned, the growth and future of the company is assured. Chandlers.
We stand behind the product we sell.